Alright, I wanted to get you started on the clay project. Usually for the clay project, you have 2 weeks to sculpt a skull, and then we spend 2 weeks making plaster mold and a cast of that skull in class. But things are a little bit different this time. I still want you to use the clay that you have, but the way we go about constructing it and dealing with it would just be a little bit different. My demo's a little different. So what I want to start you out on is, look, first of all, you do not have to sculpt a skull. That's just a good starting point for modeling something in class, because the next project after we do the skull is sculpting the human head. So in that case, it serves as a point of, it's a beginning of structural understanding of the human head. So, but I also, with that assignment, give you the ability to experiment with the skull and have fun with it and do things to it. Like this one, they've added horns and made it demonic. This one's got a design on it. This has some steampunk stuff incorporated. So I allow that in the class too. People could do whatever they want with the skull. So like the first week might be trying to sculpt the skull as the way you see it. We have references in the class. The second week would be to, if you want to, get inventive, creative with it. So there's always that option built in. This time, same thing applies. You could start out with a skull, plain skull. You could quickly start adding your own ideas to it, or you could skip the skull assignment completely and sculpt anything. But I guess it would all start out, possibly, if you need references, there's something called Sketchfab. I don't think I've introduced that to you yet. Just type it in Sketchfab, and then you could search for whatever you want. But in this case, we're looking at skulls. So say I like this skull, I could click on it. It's loading up. This one, if you wanted to buy the model, it's $20. And what that gives you is a file. So this is essentially a 3D model of a skull, which that means if you wanted to use this as a reference, you could, to sculpt your clay from. And that's where my demo in class usually goes. Is I'll take clay and I'll show you how to look at a model, an actual model, and look at the angles. And so generally what I might do is take the clay and look at that shape. Let's see. So pretend this is my clay over here. So I might just kind of do the rough shape of this. It's kind of an egg shape with the clay. And then what I might quickly do is take my thumbs and gouge in a couple holes where the eye sockets are. Maybe gouge in a hole here, gouge in a hole underneath the cheekbones. Push that in a little bit, and then I'll go to the side. So I'll turn the skull model to the side, and then I'll just look at the side, and I'll make sure that it started out like this basically, and probably I have some clay underneath there to prop it up. And then I'll just make sure that those gouges, the eye sockets, come back here. I'll add a piece of clay here for the cheekbone. I'll make sure that comes out, the chin comes out, the nose comes out. I'll add a little bit for the brow there. right here, I'll make sure there's a gouge for the jaw. And so I'm just using that with clay. And then also what you do with clay, you don't just push it around. You can make little pieces and add them where you want. Try to add them to the right size that you need. But the key is to look at every angle of whatever you're sculpting as a reference. And so this clay assignment is usually an observation assignment. So that means you're looking at something. Now, honestly, I don't mind if you don't observe. If you just make it up from your head, that's totally fine. You have 2 weeks to do it, and you have a certain amount of clay. If you need more clay, you just let me know. I'll let you have as much clay as you want. You just let me know, and we can meet at the school, and I'll get it for you. Otherwise, if you're able to make like 3 or 4 small projects with the clay that you have, or one large project, I'm okay with whatever way you want to do that. Try to spend the 2 weeks. You know, that doesn't mean every day. That just means like, you know, try to spend more than like a half hour on the project. Okay, have fun with it. You can do whatever you want. Now here's the other element. Let me see if I click out of that. Since we are not making a cast or we're not firing them or anything like that, you can paint them. So you could take the paint that you have, if you still have paint. If you need more, let me know. I'll get you more paint. You could paint them. You don't even exactly have to let the clay dry. Since it's acrylic paint, it will let the moisture of the clay come through. It's easier if you do let the clay dry, but certainly you don't have to wait. And then you can take photographs of your work that way, paint it whatever way you want. Like here, if you wanted to sculpt a pig skull, that would be fine. But of course, we'll just take a look at this model real quick. Let's see. Alright, this is taking a while. This guy that scanned it, he scans a lot of really good stuff. I recognize his name. I'm not able to access that model. Okay. Alright, well, I'm having some problems here. So again, go to Sketchfab. I was going to show you other things that you could download at Sketchfab. You could just type in your search. You could search for dragons. You could do whatever you want. Cartoon characters, whatever. So anyway, that's your assignment for the 2 weeks, and what I'll do is I'll try to add some more demos as we go along if I think that it's helpful or if you have a request. So this is the opening page for Sketchfab. There's all these different models. There's Yoda, there's dinosaurs, there's weird fish skull things, and there's cute little dogs or whatever. That could be a fox, I guess, but it's got a collar, so I guess it's a dog. There's another baby Yoda. So these are all references, you know, think of them as references, but again, you could just totally make up your own thing. But Sketchfab is, you know, the 3D models, it's kind of a nice backup if you're like stumped for an idea or you need to see how something was made. All right?